Good morning. This is Jane Hope Williams here. I am the director of the Australasian Yoga Institute, which we founded in 1976. I'm also the founder and director of the Gita Jaya Foundation. It is a foundation to help others. It has been running a long time without any formal home, and it now has a home and a legal entity, so that's good. Well, we're working towards a legal entity. It should be totally a charity by the new year. I would like to have said by the end of the week, but I don't think that is terribly realistic. What I'm going to present to you is philosophy. Philosophy, as it says in the dictionary, is just an examination of ideas. You can take them or leave them. You can think about them. You can reject them. It's up to you. I'm just presenting what has become apparent to me. And as your teacher, I feel quite happy to do that. Ooh, better take off my hat. Yeah, I think I look better with a hat, but this is me without the hat, with the hair. Okay. I'd like to begin the discussion thinking about reincarnation. I would have presumed that everybody who was a yoga teacher or a yoga teacher trainee would accept reincarnation. They mightn't see it the same way as I do, but they would accept reincarnation. So I'm going to accept that as a given. I'm not going to have a discussion about whether it's right or it's wrong or it's true or it's false. For the sake of this discussion, we will take reincarnation as a given, because if we don't believe in reincarnation, it makes karma an immediate thing, which I think is not very helpful. And it gives a lie to a lot of things that I experience that I wouldn't be able to explain if we didn't have reincarnation. As far as I'm concerned, people die, their bodies die, and their characteristics, their soul, travels to the next dimension. They are in a sleep or holding pattern or something, or whatever you want to believe there, over that side. And there's all different layers of people. They don't go over there, suddenly become advanced beings and beam down on the earth gloriously. I think that's unrealistic as well. And it says then that karma also is a nonsense. If you go over there and you don't have to come back here to learn lessons, well, what is the use of the whole thing anyway? So let us presume that there is such a thing as reincarnation, and the people that die and go over there, over to the other dimension, retain the characteristics of themselves. This is lovely and troubling at the same time, but has given a lot of peace to people that I've spoken with. Patanjali talked about the yamas, and the yamas, as far as I live, are a very effective way of getting to a better life. And one of the major yamas is thou shalt not kill, or violence is not a good idea. You know, please don't. And I think, this is me, I think that I absolutely, totally and wholeheartedly agree with that, and I take it to its conclusion that violence of any kind has a bad result, whether you're thinking the violence or doing the violence. My mind at the moment is trying to encompass a lot of things to tell you and I don't want to confuse the waters, and I've got no audience here to quiz me like we do at our spiritual yoga classes. So, and that assists us to keep relatively on a straight course, because there's so much to know and so much to find out, and so much chatter from people that are not qualified to chatter on the other side. I'd like some chatter that was worthwhile chatter. When people who are violent on the earth, just say there's a murderer, very angry, very feels that injustice has been done, and looking around and blaming this person, that person, the other person, and taking that to the logical conclusion, kills somebody. Our society's response to that is baffling. What we do is we kill them. They go onto death row and we kill them. So before we had a person who was more or less sequestered on earth to work out their karma. And now, without making any changes to them at all, in fact we probably made them angrier, they're going to the other side. What they do over there is they are attracted to anger on this side. And I know, and I felt that, and I know that you felt that too. And what I'm saying is that when you are angry, or when I am angry, suddenly anger boils up into us from somewhere that we didn't know we had it. Well, you didn't. You didn't. You have released anger, which has attracted anger from this person on the other side who died, and has not resolved his anger yet. It will be resolved. He'll have to come back and learn. But right now he's out there in a holding pattern, and he has not resolved his anger. So he's clinging to his anger, and he just loves the fact that we've got some, because he can add his anger to our anger. You know, the anger comes, I suppose you would in the past call it demonic possession, but you're not being possessed. It's just a characteristic attracting another characteristic, an energy attracting another energy and adding to it. The guy doesn't come over and possess you. I'm not saying that for 1 second. I'm saying the energy is attracted by your angry energy. And I think that explains beautifully my experience with anger, because I know that I shouldn't be angry. I know that violence is a ridiculous thing, and when I get angry on the occasions that I have, and some memorable ones where I've had to just stop and lock myself away, the anger that has come through me has been so unbelievable. I've been shaking, and I didn't know, and I couldn't find where that anger was. Now I know where that anger was. That anger, I attracted it from the other side. That is why violence never solves anything, because we attract more violence to us. What is this thing about the other side? I'll show you what this thing about the other side is. I don't know whether you can see this. Can you see this? Okay. That is a photograph I took. See what looks like dust on the lens there? See that? Okay. That is a photograph I took of Orbs. Google it if you like. O-R-B-S. I had seen orbs for many years, but only, you know, the maximum number I'd seen at any one time were 5 in my lounge room, actually. And I interpreted them as angels because they were so bright and so shiny and so beautiful, and I just loved them. I interpreted them as angels, and maybe they were. But I didn't speak to them because I didn't know what they were. I just interpreted them as angels. For this photograph, I was at a place not far away from Gladstone in Australia, and it was at an area where there was mining done on an old Aboriginal site. And it was such an unusual, distressed sort of a feeling around the area, and there was a group of us. I thought that I would take photographs. It was night time. I don't know what I thought I could see. When I started taking photographs, everyone said, "Oh, that's a good idea. You know, the lights will come up, and we'll see the sun going down. It'll be interesting, and we'll get silhouettes anyway." Anyway, so the interesting thing was that people were taking photographs, and they were getting photographs, and I thought, "Oh, I must be standing in the breeze because I've got dust on my lens." And then I looked up, and there's these orbs, and no one else can see them. No one else could even see the big ones, and there was some really big ones that I took photographs of. And so there was really a split of perception here. It was no good me saying, "Can't you see the orbs?" because it was clear to me that they couldn't, and their cameras even weren't picking them up, and mine was. So that's when I started thinking seriously about what is this energy called orbs. And a lot of people have gotten on the bandwagon, and they have said things are orbs when really they're just a flashback or a blowback from the camera or a reflection or stuff like that, which you get with anything that's marginally spiritual and people want to photograph. But that definitely is orbs there. The other night, I had a really amazing, well, I've had the most amazing few months. And my yoga and spiritual yoga and the philosophy and my philosophy classes and people and everything that's happening to me is just quickening with regards to my limited understanding. And I'm making every attempt that I can to live 24/7 in divine love, which is a beautiful place to be, I must say. You're all invited to join, by the way. The other night, I was lying in bed, and you know when you've got your eyes closed and someone puts a flashlight across your face and you get this feeling of light going across that you can see through your eyelids. I was asleep. It would have been about 3 in the morning, and this light went across my face, and I woke up and my room was full of orbs. And I thought, am I dreaming or aren't I dreaming? And I thought, well, I'll go to the toilet, and if I come back and they're still there, then I'm not dreaming. So I went to the toilet, splashed my face a bit in the hand basin afterwards. I give my hands a bit of a wash, rinse my mouth, and I thought that should be enough time for them to disperse. Came back and they're still all there. And I thought, A, I'm not dreaming, and B, there isn't an interaction that needs to happen. So I went back and I sat on my bed, and it was the most beautiful sight. Once I'd accepted that this was happening for me and it was something, it was quite beautiful. And the best way to be with it is be in the space of divine love. And I'm communicating, which I didn't know I could, with these orbs. And I said to them, "Are you there all the time?" And they said, "Yes, we're with you all the time." And the room was full of orbs, kind of like this. You know, there's not just 1 or 2 orbs, is there? The more you look at that picture, the more you can see. And I said, "Well, are all those orbs attached to me?" And they said, "Yes." And well, how does that occur? Well, they're from all your lifetimes. they're with you now. And I thought, oh, well, that explains it. You know, I've had quite a few lifetimes and guardian angels and attachments and people who are looking after me and all this kind of stuff. Yep, I can understand that. That's good. And then they started to tell me about mediumship, because it's an area I've always been interested in. And since I've been doing past life therapies, I've come to understand that on the other side, there are people who are advanced souls and there's people who are less advanced souls, like the angry man. And if you get a medium who is not an advanced soul, she will channel, or he will channel, a not advanced soul. So it sounds okay, but it's not okay. They're just, you know, those kind of mediums you go to and you think, oh, well, bit hit and miss, or mostly missed. But if you get an advanced soul who is a medium, somebody that you know is living a spiritual life, someone that you know is acting out of divine love, then you are going to be able to get a message from a higher source, a more advanced soul, a more developed being. A developed being will attract a developed being. This once again puts the responsibility on you. If you don't do your homework and work out who you are talking to, then the being that is on the other side is not going to be a terribly advanced being. And you're going to get not a good reading and a bad message, and mostly your bank balance is going to be considerably less. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay for anything, but I think that somebody who is not an advanced being, maybe they're not charging you for their time, they're charging you for the contact. Well, they can't. They can charge you for their time because we've all got to pay the rent. But, you know, the content is not very fabulous. They should be able to say to you, I'm terribly sorry, I'd rather not answer that, or I'm not in the right position today, because not always, you know, it's kind of like the telephone. Your mobile phone doesn't take the signals in the right way all the time. So, you know, you'll know an advanced being when you sit with one. They will not just give you the answers. They will give you a little bit of philosophy. They will give you some background. You can talk about other things. It's not just, ooh, yes, you'll meet somebody tall, dark and handsome. Who would be bothered? Who would be bothered? So I'm just looking at my little card because I just don't want to miss out on telling you anything today. We will expand on all of these things. Please accept that. And I'm hoping that they'll all come out in the next week or so that you'll be able to think about them over Christmas. It's really, really important that you do start thinking about them. If you want to talk to me about them, then that's wonderful. You can come to our spiritual yoga sessions, and they are really wonderful, or restorative yoga, where you will find the atmosphere quite extraordinary. It's not just a yoga class. So when you think about God, if you think about God as something up here, divine love, divine truth, you can use that for God. Or as I was talking to someone this morning and he called him Trevor, that's all right, God or Trevor. And then over to the side here, below, is your soul. That's all your characteristics, love, all of those things there. And over on the other side is up here, high here somewhere, is your brain and your mind. Most people are trying to talk to God using their brain and their mind. That. In actual fact, you should be using your soul and your heart to talk to God. Okay? It's really important in your life that you locate your pain, that you own it, take personal responsibility, and you deal with it by addressing the pain, being prepared to sit in the pain, and being prepared to forgive it and you. And forgive whoever it is caused you pain, no matter how they caused you pain, or whom you think you should blame. Forgive everybody as well as yourself. If you do that, then you can move forward. If you don't do that, you have not taken personal responsibility. What areas of your life are you taking personal responsibility for? And what does that mean? It's not until you take personal responsibility for your life that you can get close to God. And personal responsibility means in all areas. If you are able to work or able to earn money and you are on the dole, or you are taking money from somewhere, and you've got a garden and you're not using it, and you've got a house and it's not nice, then there's lots of areas there you are not taking personal responsibility. Don't expect a direct connection to God, because personal responsibility is one of the keys. Sorry about that. Okay? That's why I think that a better response to the angry man, rather than killing him, corporal or punishment by death, would be putting the angry man somewhere remote and saying, okay, now we're going to teach you to be personally responsible for your life and what it creates. You are responsible for putting a water system into you're firstly responsible for building a hut, and then you're responsible for putting some kind of a water catchment in, and you're personally responsible for growing your food or finding it, and you're personally responsible for all areas of your life relating to survival. When you have worked out that there's something other than survival and you'd like to talk to somebody about spirit and soul, somebody will be provided to talk to you about that when you are ready to talk about that. And by doing that, the person has learned to take personal responsibility for all areas of their lives, including their anger. In building their house and in tending their garden and in looking at the weather and things like that, they would have contemplated their own life and worked out what it was that caused the anger in the first place. Killing them would not cause them to do that. It has delayed their advancement, and it certainly has delayed ours. So it's probably not a good idea. Violence of any kind, for any reason, is not a good thing. And if you link violence to love, then in a child that causes confusion for the whole of their lives. Just say a child had a fork and was going to pop it in the toaster. The child doesn't know that that's wrong and is not aware of consequences. And you say, no, don't do that. Put the fork down. Put a piece of bread in there. And little Johnny looks at you defiantly, because you probably haven't done the teaching skills terribly well. And he moves a little closer to the toaster. If you then smack him for his own good and cuddle him because he's crying, you have confused his mind. He now has the thought that violence and love go together. If I hit you, I'm hitting you for your good. And I can decide what that is. And then afterwards I give you a cuddle and everything's all right. Remind you of anything? So in order to deal with that with the child, and they're putting the fork in the toaster, you know how easy it is to distract a child. You just pick them up and say, well, go and do some gardening. Putting your fork in the toaster is not a good idea. It could cause a problem. We'll go and do some gardening. Or we'll go and look at the birds. Or let's do the vacuum cleaning. Or whatever it is. Distract them, take them away, do something else. Or come on, let's make patty pans. Or help me with the washing up. Whatever it is. Cuddle, cuddle, cuddle. So then they do not associate violence with love. They remember the love. They might be slightly confused why suddenly you went off and decided to do the vacuum cleaning, but they're probably confused about a lot of those things anyway. That's not going to be an issue. And they haven't linked violence and love together. This causes a lot of problems. This linkage of violence and love, as you can see, causes a lot of problems later on and draws violence from the other side. I don't think, one of my students said to me that they thought you had to experience hate in order to totally understand love. I'm not that sure that's true. I think if you experience hate, you'll experience more hate. And I don't think in my life I've ever experienced hate, but I certainly have experienced love. And the more I connect with God, the more I understand divine love. I'm only glimpsing into the garden, but I am beginning to understand what that is about. But it's certainly, I don't need to, or I don't want to experience hate in order to experience love. And I don't think that I should teach anybody to do that. I don't want them to experience hate. I don't want them to link hate and love together, or to give them a way to explain that to themselves. Hate and love. Just love, love, love is the message. And I suppose that's a good place to end it. Love is definitely the message. If you would like to talk to me more about this, please email me on yogafirst@netcon.net.au. Love to. I would like to talk to this. I could talk about it all day. In fact, I don't want to talk about anything else. I'm available at the Bentink in Wood End for spiritual yoga at 1:45 on Mondays. If you want me to come to you for a lecture, or if you have a topic you'd like me to discuss, please email me. In terms of me coming to you, there will be a cost for travel and stuff like that. And I think that is understandable. But apart from that, I think that we are done for the day. God says I can go. Namaste. I'll turn the thing off. Turn the thing off. Bye bye everybody. Have a lovely Christmas.